Hello, you're welcome to another informative episode of Dreams with Priscilla. Now, it's been a minute since I uploaded the video. I apologize for this. The past few weeks has been really busy. On this episode, I'll be sharing some simple but quite handy tips to help you ace your next job interview. Now, while preparing to interview for a job, it's easy to focus your attention on just being able to give the best answers to the competency questions, while forgetting that there are other aspects of the interview that matters just as much. Do you know that a big part of the success of the interview is actually non-verbal communication? Now, non-verbal communication is as important or can even be more important than verbal communication, especially when you're interviewing for a role with so many other equally qualified candidates and the interviewers happen to be very smart people. In the case where the interviewer has options, you could get them on your side with these simple tips. Now, you must have heard the saying, first impression matters. At interviews, this saying holds true. From the moment you walk into the interview room, your interview has started. The first impression you make on a potential employer can make a big difference in the outcome of your job interview. So the following tips are to help you make a lasting impression on the interviewer. 1. Dress the part. Now, while some organizations don't mind you wearing a t-shirt and jeans, some others will give you your first strike for not looking the part. So you need to research about the organization, and if you're not sure, dress professionally. 2. Smile, but don't overdo it. Always walk in and out of the interview room with a smile no matter what. It will put both you and your interviewer in a good mood and also make you seem less tensed even though you are. Now, whether or not you had a bad day, say you just had an altercation with a bus conductor on your way to the interview, remember the interviewer doesn't know this, so he'll end up judging you based on a temporary mood. Try to not mirror any negative feelings throughout the job interview, but remember to also put on a serious face when necessary, especially in the middle of the interview when you're answering questions, because smiling too much might make the interviewer think you are faking it. 3. Think positive. If you go into an interview thinking you won't get the job, trust me, it will be hard for you to get the job. Now, whether or not you don't feel good within you, try to exude some optimistic aura. Being very well prepared for the interview could make it easier for you to think positive. Personally, something I do within the last hour before I go into an interview is to listen to my favorite playlist of songs, because the songs always make me feel powerful. It helps me feel less nervous, and so by the time I walk in, I do so with that euphoria. And trust me, like COVID, the aura you bring into the room is contagious. If you walk into the room with a long face, your interviewers will wear a long face while they interview you. 4. Be polite. Make eye contact with the interviewers. Smile and nod when the interviewer is making a point, and also try to lean forward a little towards the interviewer so you appear interested and engaged. However, we all know the pandemic has changed the way a lot of things are done, and while we are adjusting to the new normal, more companies are leaning towards phone interviews. In my opinion, non-verbal communication is easily communicated in face-to-face interaction due to the advantage of using body language. So if you happen to be interviewing remotely, say via Zoom or Skype, you need to pay more attention to your non-verbal communication skill, because technology makes it easy to lose your interviewer's interest since the use of body language, which is an essential part of communication, is limited. The next tips are to help you ace your remote job interview. 1. Ensure you have a reliable internet connectivity via a reliable internet service provider. Otherwise, you won't have the opportunity to showcase any of your skills, talk more of getting hired. In essence, avoid the temptation of subscribing for mega promo giving ISPs that give you plenty of free data that you cannot use. 2. Do not be late. There's a saying that there's nothing like being on time in an interview. If you're not early, you're late. Try to join the call at least 10 minutes to the time. This way, you won't have to worry about last-minute technical difficulties stressing you out. It also gives you enough time to check your sitting position or appearance in the camera ahead of time. 3. Practice using the technology before the due day. Whether Zoom, Skype, or whatever software the employer has chosen, you need to get used to the environment of the software before the actual call. 4. Be an active listener. It can be hard when you're interviewing remotely, so remember to listen carefully to the questions and focus on your interviewer. I advise you make use of a headphone, as it will help you block background noise and you get to hear your interviewer even more clearly. Also, look the interviewer in the eye while you're speaking. Remember, on camera, looking the interviewer in the eye means you're looking at the lens, so try to alternate between looking at the lens and looking at the screen. Also, ask clarifying questions and rephrase what the interviewer says to ensure you understand them. Doing so also shows the interviewer that you are engaged and interested in the job. 5. Take the time to review typical interview questions. Whether remote or on-site interview, take the time to review typical interview questions around the role you're interviewing for. It will help you be more confident at the interview. 6. I always stress the power of having a strong network of connections. Who you know at the company you're interviewing at could go a long way to help you ace the job interview. Your connections can refer you for a job, provide inside information on the company or vacancies, and also tell you what to expect during the job interview. 7, which is the last point for this episode. Always, I repeat, always ask the interviewer a question around the job or role. It makes you seem more interested in the role. No matter how simple the question is, it could be a question about the work schedule, whether it's work from home, and whether you have to work on weekends too. Always make sure you ask a question. Remember, the number one thing to remember when interviewing is to appear professional, attentive, and confident throughout the interview process. Always remember that a good job interview is a conversation, no more, no less. Stop seeing it as an exam or interrogation. It should be more like how you negotiate in the local market. You just need to show the interviewer why you are perfect for the role, while you also assess whether or not they are a good buyer. Now, I saw a comedy video by MC Lively here on YouTube titled The Interview. Even though it's a comedy, I find the video quite informative. Now, in the next episode, I'll be discussing how to answer behavioral interview questions. Now, thank you for coming.
Down with the pack, I roll. Up with the sack, and you know that I deserve it. Half and half, from we split the perks.